Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for hanging out with me. I've been hands-on with Wise versus Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga, and I want to talk through the new update, why it matters, and how it actually changes the feel of matches instead of just listing items off a changelog. There's a lot of nuance in here that doesn't jump out until you play a few hours, especially if you swap between platforms or like to lab out character routes and network settings. And yes, I'll keep it real about what's confirmed, what's platform specific, and where you'll actually notice differences the second you boot into a fight. So what you're seeing in this video is my expanded and detailed version of the game patch notes. First things first, the version identifier for reference is 1.0.1. I won't repeat that string again, promise. Think of this as the foundation pass for the remaster's live support. A cleanup of a few visual blemishes, some networking polish, and then a handful of quality of life additions on Switch that bring it closer to parity with other platforms. A small sentence on a webpage like, fixed some flickering, doesn't tell you much, but on an action-heavy arena brawler where screen effects call attention to skill, confirms, and dodge timing, that kind of fix reduces visual noise exactly when you're making micro-reads. If you were seeing intermittent shimmer or odd flashes around certain skills and transitions, the update's goal is to smooth those out so the animations read cleanly at a glance. It's subtle during story tournaments, it's huge when you're trading bursts in fast matches. There's also a correction to Agit's Draguna Edge animation. If you main him, you already know this skill is a momentum setter. The arc, the travel, and the visual cue all telegraph spacing for counters and follow-ups. When the animation timing or pose is just a hair off, you end up building wrong habits because the on-screen cue doesn't perfectly match the hit feel. Post-update, it lines up more consistently with what the move is supposed to communicate, which helps both the person using it and the opponent reading it. It's one of those adjustments that makes match-to-match muscle memory stick more reliably, and it keeps the move from feeling jank in replays. Network folks, let's talk LAN. A lot of players fixate on rollback and WAN matchmaking, understandably, but local play stability matters for events, dorm setups, and offline meetups. The update mentions fixes for connection inconsistencies in LAN mode. In practice, that means fewer surprise desyncs when you've got multiple consoles or PCs in the same room, and more predictable session handshakes when one device is a little late to the party. It's not sexy on a feature list, but if you're running a bracket or recording sets without wanting to stitch around a drop, that reliability gains real value. If you've avoided local lobbies because of intermittent weirdness, give them another shot after patching. The improvement is precisely where organizers felt pain. Now, the Switch-specific goodies are where the update adds everyday comfort. You get a message log, which is a gift if you're playing story and you miss a line because your eyes were darting to a meter or you were mid-sip of water. Being able to scroll back without replaying a scene keeps the pace up and removes that tiny anxiety of, wait, what did Estelle just hint at? There's also BGM info display and a music player mode, which sounds cosmetic until you realize how much Falcom fans care about soundtracks. This series lives rent-free in people's playlists, so having track IDs on screen and a lightweight way to revisit songs in-game is a nice nod to the culture around the IP. And for anyone new to Falcom's catalog, those labels are a breadcrumb trail. Oh, this one's from Trails in the Sky FC, add to queue. The training options got expanded as well, and that's where the serious practice happens. Reset states, test specific interactions, verify spacing, and confirms without menuing back out constantly. If you're the kind of player who records controller inputs and drills openers, this saves you real time. There's also a platform performance note that's easy to misread. The Switch build now scales its resolution depending on the hardware model's available performance. On the baseline console, you'll see cleaner output than launch in some scenarios. On the newer hardware revision referenced by the publisher, you get a bigger bump. And if you're hearing chatter about running the Switch build on the next-gen hardware through backward compatibility, yes, there are documented enhancements when it runs on that device. Up to a 4K SAS 60 presentation docked and 1080p 60 handheld, with the important caveat that this isn't a separate native SKU, just a smarter ceiling the existing version can reach when it detects more headroom. That distinction matters, so expectations are calibrated. Improved visuals and stability, same build identity. If you're watching on PC or PlayStation and wondering, did we get anything? The broad strokes for visual tweaks and general bug fixes do carry across platforms, and you can track curated notes and build activity on PC through databases that mirror Steam patch events. For console players, publishers often post notes via their news partners and storefront cards. If you want a one-page overview that keeps a running tally for the Switch build, there are tracker sites cataloging each release tag with dates for quick verification, which is handy when you're trying to match versions with friends for online play. The short of it, the housekeeping in this update isn't Switch only. The Switch is just where the quality of life burst is concentrated, and it's the only place with a dynamic resolution note tied to hardware differences. Let's translate all of that into practical improvements you'll feel in a session. Cleaner effects mean your eyes fatigue less over a night of sets. It sounds trivial, but long play sessions are where inconsistent post-processing or artifact flicker can throw off spacing reads and reaction timing. You'll make fewer "I swear I saw the flash" mistakes, because those flashes now correspond more tightly to state changes. For folks who stream or record content, cleaner frames compress better, so your VODs hold detail on motion, less smearing on particle highlights, and a more legible HUD at bit rates typical for mid-tier upload speeds. That also means post-patch capture looks closer to what you experienced on your screen, which is a win for creators. On the character side, the agate change is laser-focused. If you've been frustrated by drop confirms after that skill, or you felt like you had to relearn spacing when switching between platforms, the adjusted animation helps with consistency. Moves that function as initiators, gap closers, or momentum breakers rely on precise tells. When those tells match the hitboxes and timing, players on both ends can form trust. The user commits with confidence, the defender reacts with intention, and the neutral game feels fair. Expect your punish windows and punish baits to line up better with what your brain expects from the visual language. Land stability is the unsung hero for anyone doing couch tournaments or capture sessions. You can keep your setup simple: fewer restarts, fewer swap hosts, and fewer mysteries when a unit decides to handshake weirdly with the others. If you're in a club or a small local scene, the path from "let's play after class" to "we ran a small bracket" gets smoother when your tech stack stops being an obstacle. That's great for growing communities around a niche crossover that benefits from word of mouth. Switch QOL is where everyday play gets nicer. The message log makes story mode breezier. I love being able to backtrack one or two lines without resetting a scene. The music readouts are a delightful bit of fan service, and they double as a subtle tutorial to Falcom's discography. The training add-ons are where the game's depth opens up. Arena brawlers live or die on how quickly you can test a hypothesis. Does this connect after a wall bounce at this angle? What about if I slightly delay? If the tools to reset situations and spawn conditions are a menu away, you iterate more, and your time is better spent on learning instead of loading. Performance scaling on Switch is straightforward. The game leverages what the hardware can deliver. If you're on older hardware, you still see the benefits of bug fixes and QOL. On the newer hardware in the family, you'll notice sharper output and steadier frame delivery in intense moments. And for those lucky enough to be playing the Switch version on the next-gen system through backward compatibility, that up to 4K 60 docked 1080p 60 handheld ceiling is a very tidy way to future-proof your library without fragmenting the user base. Just keep in mind, the publisher has stressed this is the same build taking advantage of extra horsepower rather than a whole separate port. If you're wondering where to confirm you're patched, on Switch, you can highlight the game tile, hit the plus button, and run a software update via the internet. The version number shows on that screen, which is an easy sanity check before a match night. On PC, Steam auto-updates by default, and sites that track patch notes can show you build IDs if you're the curious type who likes to see timestamps and diffs. The goal here is simple: make sure your friends and you are aligned, so cross-platform sessions don't fall apart over minor mismatches. One thing I see pop up in comments a lot is confusion with the PSP original and the fan translation from a few years back. That community patch was fantastic work for its time and gave a lot of us our first taste of the crossover in English, but it's a separate thing. What we're playing now is the official remaster released on modern platforms with new features like rollback netcode, enhanced resolution support, and full English voice work added by the publisher. If a forum post you're reading references patchers, ISO instructions, or 2010 PSP quirks, you're looking at the old scene, not the current commercial release. It's worth celebrating both, but don't mix their patch notes or you'll end up expecting options that only existed in the mod or vice versa. From a feel perspective, the update nudges the remaster closer to the ideal of an arena crossover that respects both series' identities. Clean visuals keep the kinetic flair of Wise from washing out Trail's more deliberate reads. Polished animations prevent specific characters from feeling off-meta for the wrong reasons.